Hi, everyone. So today we'll be looking at Azure Devops, how to use Azure Devops as a business analyst or as a project manager or as a product owner. Basically using Azure Devops to manage your requirements within the team. When you join a team, you most likely be invited by your organization's admin to the Azure Devops platform. And you get to see all of the projects that you have access to view on this home or dashboard or overview page. For this, I had to create a project called e-voting. So I created this project under my organization. A quick thing I will always advise you to do before jumping right in would be for you to understand the organizational setting for that particular organization. So you go to organizational setting at the bottom left here. Once you click on it, you go straight right up to the boards and to the process. So understand the processes that your organization is currently using. In Azure DevOps, there are 4 processes. We have the basic, we have the agile, we have the scrum, and we have the CMMI, right? The basic is what comes by default for every organization, and depending on the project management process that your organization might be running, you might need to change it to either one that suits you. If your organization is on basically, the basic process basically means that your team wants the simplest model that uses issues, tags, and epics to track their work. So when you go into basic, you see issues, you see tags, and you see epics. These are the work items that your team wants to use to track their work, their delivery. If your team is running on Agile, Agile gives you a lot more room to play around and also cover some Agile work items such as user story down here, such as bug, and such as feature. So you are having an additional 3 work items that are going to use to track your work within the team. If your team is running on Scrum processes, then you have an additional product backlog, or product backlog item, and also an impediment. Thereby, issues and user story won't be part of the Scrum process. And also with the CMMI is basically used to streamline development of software products. So you're going to be running on requirements, change requests, reviews, risks as additional work items to what you have on the basic plan. So once you'll be able to establish that for this project, I'm currently running on an agile process. So to know which one your project is running on, click on the project, you're going to see that this particular project, the e-voting solution, is running on agile process. So let's get back to the homepage of the organization by clicking on the organization name here, and then let's get to the board to understand how the board works. So by selecting the organization tab, card, you come into the organization and you can scroll down and see all of what are the side menus of the organization, of the project rather. Where your key interest will lie as the product manager or business analyst or product owner would be on the board. So you realize by the time I hover around here, the additional information that comes up. So I will just click on this on the boards and let the board load. So when the board loads, I can see work items. Work items, in the case of Jira, are just like tickets. So work items can be likened to tickets in Jira. So we have our work items, we have our backlogs if we want to view the backlogs. For this project, everything is pretty much empty because I just created it to do a walkthrough for each and every one of us for this class. So let's go to the work items. To create a work item, you basically come to this plus sign where you see new work item. You click on it and then you see the different work items you could create. So I'll go ahead to create an epic since remember the title of the project is e-voting solution. So let me go create an epic. This session or this tutorial is not basically about teaching you how to write an epic or how to write a user story, but this is basically to let you know how to use Azure DevOps for starters. You click on Epic, you have to enter the title of the Epic. Let's assume the Epic title is sign up, or probably I could call it user onboarding. So once I create that, I click on save. I could come down here. So let me give you guys a rundown of what all of these are, right? If I have other team members I'm working with and I don't want to pick up this Epic to work on it, I could assign it to members, or I assign it to myself, right? I could assign it to myself. The number of comments on this Epic, I'll see it here. If I want to add a tag to it, I could add a tag to it so that every time there are mentions on those tags, the Epic could come up. We have states, that is the status of the Epic. If it this is a newly created Epic, so I can change the status to active, resolve, close, and remove. If an Epic is new, it means that it has just been created, right? If it is active, it means that the team is currently working on the Epic. They've picked it up. That is the development team. They've picked it up. They are currently working on it. Resolved means that the Epic has been fully resolved and there are no issues on the Epic. Close means that the team has finished developing it, or should I say, for instance, the developer or the engineering team that picked it up, they finish developing and they'll have to close it. Then the product owner will go to click on resolve and all of that. Then remove is if we choose to remove this Epic from the work items. The area speaks to the project is involved in, and the iteration speaks to the iteration sprints it's part of. If you want to have an oversight of what's happening on the Epic, you could choose to follow the Epic. You can also have some notification settings here. You might want to do some personalized notification on, right? So if you want to give a better description about the Epic to your team, so your team will be able to have a better understanding of what the Epic is all about, you can come down to the description and I could give a short description. This button here is for us to maximize the text area. So if I click on this, you realize the description text area is maximized and I can have full access to write all sort of thing. Clicking here again will minimize that. So I could give a description of this as this Epic helps to describe how the e-voting users can onboard successfully on the app. Okay, I have to describe the requirements that are needed for the e-voting users to onboard successfully on the app. So I have this. Remember, for every time you make changes, you need to save. You need to click on save so that you can save your changes. Then discussions, if you have team members and you are trying to ask questions, let's say, for instance, a developer picks up this Epic and he or she does not understand what the Epic is all about. The person could ask you a question by basically using @ to mention you. So I can say @Genesis. So that will basically search out my team member. As the moment is now, I'm the only team member on this. So I can search, I can comment on myself. So if you have any team member @Gloria, James, and all, you can mention your team member and ask them question and they'll get notified on their mail client or on their mail, most preferably Outlook or Gmail, about your question. Now we have the planning aspects of this particular Epic. This priority, priority 1 means it is highest priority, priority 2 means high priority, priority 3 means medium priority, while 4 means low priority. So if this Epic is of the highest priority, we'll give it a value of 1. The risk, we'll look for the risk level. If it is a high risk, medium risk, or low risk requirement. A requirement could be high risk in the sense that if we don't get to do it, it will cause a lot of problem to the team. The number of effort that is required, we include that it could be 2 days, it could be 2 hours, depending on the consideration, depending on the configuration by the team, right? And we set the start date of the epic and the target end date of the epic. So let's say today is 7th of August, 2022. So I'll set it as its start date, and the proposed end date or target could be, okay, this epic is going to take us probably 3 sprints to accomplish. And I set it at the 30th of September 2022, right? So we have related work item. The way epics work is that most times, or should I say oftentimes, epics are mostly a parent to user stories, right? So you could come and add a related work item to this. Once I click on this, I could choose from an existing work item or from a new work item. So I basically may not be able to add any work link here because I've not created any other work item aside this first one. But I'm going to use a user story to explain the work items a lot more clearer to us in the course of this tutorial. So that basically, here we go, our epics is ready, and then we can save it and then click on back to work items. Now, when we do that, you're going to see that the epic has been created and it has an ID of 1. So the more work items we create, the more the number begins to grow. So if I create a user story next, the user story will have an ID of 2. If I create a bug next, a bug will have an ID of 3. If I go back to create an epic, to have an ID of 4. So also epics have their icons. They have this kingly icon on top of the epic. Who is the epic assigned to? You get to see it. The state of the epic is here, and the area or the path, the project path that it belongs to, is the e-voting. If there are any tags, as I mentioned, you see it here. If there are any comments, you get to see comments here. Then the activity date is between 7th of August 2022, and the time it was created is 11:23 a.m. Now I'm going to go ahead. Also from here, you can basically filter. We have some filter options for us here. You can filter by the type of work items, epics, since it's the only one I've created here. You can filter by epic, work items assigned to yourself or unassigned. You can also filter by the status, by the state of the work items, by the areas they are involved in, that's the project area, and by their tags. So let's go ahead and create another work items. This time around, we'll be creating a user story, right? So I'll be creating a user story, and I'll call this user story sign up, right? So I'll do that, I'll save. I'll come to the description because every user story needs a description, and I'll say, as a new user, I want to be able to provide my email address and password, right? So that I can sign up on the e-voting app. So this is just a sample user story I just created for this. So user story have almost the same look and feel, just as the epic. We have the state of the user story, the reason, and all of that. Now, another additional thing for user story is the acceptance criteria, which helps us to validate or verify that the user story is satisfied by what has been implemented by the technical team. So here you could write your acceptance criteria that given that the user has provided, given that the user, okay, let me not use the given that scenario, let me use must test that the user provides or enters a valid email address format such as hello@yourmail.com. So let me make this a lot more. The user must provide a valid email address format, such as hello@yourmail.com. So let me just go with this one acceptance criteria. It has the same thing, such as story point, that's number of effort or time it will take to implement this particular story. The priority as well, priority 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let me just leave this at priority 2, or it should be up priority 1. Either way, you want to put the risk level, classification, if it is a business related stuff. Then we have the discussions. As I mentioned, in Jira, you're going to see this as comments, or in Azure DevOps, you see this as discussions. Now, let me explain the relationship. So related work, first let me save this. So related work, I'll click on this add link, existing work item. Now it's going to open a pop-up or a dashboard whereby I'll select the relationship between this user story, which is sign up, and any other work item I want to relate or link it with, right? So it says you are adding a link from this work item. If you watch, you see this location icon is where this user story is, and this icon here represents the work item we want to link it to. As I said, user stories are children to epics, or epics are parents to user stories. So the way this goes is that first of all, understand that user stories are children, or the user story is a child to an epic. Thereby, an epic needs to be up while user story needs to be down. So if it is a child relationship, if I click on this drop-down arrow, I'll see different types of linkage. This GitHub basically is for the development team. But here, if it's a child relationship, it means that the epic, the work item we want to link it to is a child to the work item we are currently into. So let's say, for instance, we are into the sign up work item. If I select a child, it means that whatever work, if I select a child, it means that whatever work item I'm going to select here is going to be a child to this work items. So if I select this epic user onboarding, that means the epic user onboarding is going to be a child to this user story sign up. As you've seen here, we have the user onboarding and epic coming at the child level of the user story here. But actually the reverse is the case, because user stories are children to the epic. So I'm going to select a parent relationship, right? Parent relationship, you see that the work items, this icon is now up, and this icon here is now down, showing that this one is a child to this, right? Then I'm going to select the epic user onboarding, and you see it coming on top of here once that has been done. So it's loading. I don't know why it's taking time to load anyway. Yeah, awesome. So we have the user onboarding here, showing that this is the user's sign up is a child to the user onboarding. There are different types of relationships as well. We have the duplicate, showing that if this user story is a duplicate of another user story, we can have it there, the duplicate and duplicate of predecessor. If this user story is a successor to another, if this work item is a successor to another work item. So if I should click on predecessor, you see that all of this will change. So it's showing that this work item, this work item of sign up, is going to be a successor to any work item I select. So this work item sign up is succeeding the user onboarding. That is the predecessor relationship. If I should choose related, it means that this work item and whatever work item I'm going to choose are related to each other. So they're basically related to each other. And if I should select the tested work item, this has to be, do with the software testers, means that this work item has been tested by another work item, which is the user story. So no need to go about running the test anymore. So I'll just go with parent, because the user stories are basically children to epics. So it's a parent to the epic user onboarding. So once I have that here, I'll click on OK, right? So you can see that we have the related work here, showing that there's a parent work item that this particular user story of sign up is related to. So when I go and click on save and then go back to work items, let me go to the user onboarding and let's see if that relationship has been created. I'll scroll down, I'll see that there's a child relationship here. So on the Epic, on the user story, I'm seeing a parent here, but on the Epic, when I enter into the Epic work item, I'll see a child here showing that this is a child relationship that we have, that it has a child relationship with the sign up. So it has a child called sign up, right? That basically is how to write requirements using the Agile process in Azure DevOps. We have the user story, we have the Epic. If I want to create additional work items, I could create a feature. And this feature, I could call it the sign up feature or create accounts feature, depending on whatever thing I want to call it. So call it that. The same thing works for everything. Come here and then select my relationship and everything. So that basically is what it's all about in terms of writing epics and user stories on Azure DevOps. Thank you. Please hit the like button and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more wonderful videos. Thanks. Bye-bye.